Yo, this is In
Facts
Chats, and we are in our home, which is the Qube. It's London home for creators. It's for podcasters, artists, musicians, producers, all of that. It's all about recording your art and getting paid for it.
Ooh. And if you want a free month at the Qube, all you have to do is visit theqube.com, QUBE.com. You'll see that down below, and enter In Facts into the referral field, and you'll get your first month for free.
Right, cool, yeah. Sweet. Enjoy that. Bon appetit.
You're listening to In
Facts.
Chats. Unpacked with
Lemzi, and that's Lemzi, the Gemini.
and Amelia Poamz the Pisces.
I think we must be approaching Gemini season soon.
Actually, by the time this comes out, it would have been
Soon. It'll be near, if not in. Yeah, let's see.
Oh God,
It's gonna be a good summer.
Gemini's.
Good summer, huh?
Yeah, good summer. Okay, first off, how you feeling? Really?
Really? Hang on a second. Really?
Yeah.
Really? I feel quite I feel nice, man. I feel nice. Have some really good tea that's right next to me. Being very present. My shoes are off.
Oh yeah, you love that.
As soon as Unpacked, my shoes come off, like almost immediately. Because I just like to be cozy when we have these little one-to-ones.
Feel grounded.
Hearts. Yeah, feel grounded. So yeah, I'm good. I want to report on that. Yeah, I'm good.
I wonder
today.
why this one feels
Like
a bit. Yeah, like we've done this before. I don't know. I feel like we've already
Oh, you
explained.
really? Yeah. Like I've seen you all day, so I feel like I know how you are. But for the people listening,
Yeah.
how are you?
Really? I'm really good, you know. I feel like, obviously in the previous episode, I was speaking more about just my love for fictional characters. But none, like, outside of that, just ridiculousness. I actually feel really good.
I'm glad.
I remember I had a nice rant to you yesterday anyway.
And even earlier today.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel...
Chest.
Yeah, I just feel really good. I feel like I've entered almost like a cycle, a new chapter of my life. I just feel very much like I want to turn up in spaces, just being my fucking self. And if you don't like it, you can jog on. And if you like it, I got time for you.
What would you call your previous chapter?
Ooh. Unpacking, you know.
Ooh.
I would actually... Because obviously that, like, I've recently just had my last therapy session.
Yeah.
I say last for now because I definitely feel like there's still certain things I want to explore and get to the bottom of. But at the moment, I kind of made the decision that I feel like I don't really have any harmful coping mechanisms right now. And everything I kind of went in wanting or like, feeling like I need to understand, I understand now.
That's good, you know.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm very happy with my first... like experience of therapy that. Yeah. And she said it was a mixture. She was like, it wasn't too much what do you call it, behavioral thingy, what's it, cognitive behavioral therapy. It wasn't too much of that. It was more counseling, she said, that you were basically having. So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. But yeah, man, it felt a bit emotional as well to say,
like, this is it.
Right, bye for now. Like, can't even, like, you know, really keep in touch.
That's
like,
the thing, innit? Like,
do you know what I mean?
Relationship, it's very much strictly professional, isn't it?
This is what I'm saying. So
that's 6 months you were going?
Yeah, started it like October, finished it like March.
Yeah.
So
congratulations. Congrats.
Thank you.
I remember on like the first few episodes where you're really excited more than anything, but not because it was like, woo, therapy is really exciting. It's more like the change that you know is going to come from doing all of these sessions and just the period of unpacking. I think that's perfect. Hence why this is called Unpacked.
This is what I'm saying, honestly. And like, and that's why I feel like I know myself really fucking well, and I've always known myself well, but I've allowed situations and people to trick me into feeling like I don't know myself that well. No, and I know my heart's in a very, very good place. And everything I do generally comes from a place of love, and I know myself well enough to know when it's not, and when it's coming from a place of insecurity or whatever. And very comfortable to address that with myself. I'm very comfortable to be like, this is a you problem. The amount of times I might act out of line with people and I'm like, this is a me problem.
Yeah.
Like even
do you reckon well, go on, you got an example?
no, when I said, for instance, like the other day when like I was just listening to your voice note and you were just annoying me.
Because I sounded happy. Because I sounded joyful.
No, but it was because I was just generally annoyed. Basically, it's just that time of the month. My hormones are like just all over the place. My patience was very thin. There was a lot of other things that really it was kind of just about me feeling like I just don't have enough time to do the things that I actually love at the moment. But then even since then, I've just made changes to my routine. Yeah. But yeah, it had absolutely nothing to do with you. So even like I had to catch myself in just like maybe even saying something that you're going to think, what's wrong with you, Mila? Like, why are you coming for me? Which I don't think enough people are reflective on sometimes. I think there's a lot of people out there that just seem to think it's never them that's the problem and it's always other people.
Wow, not everything can be, most things shouldn't be externalized, really and truly. You have to look at what was your position in whatever the circumstance was, even if it seems like it's completely nothing to do with you. It's like, okay, is there anything that I could have done there? Even just to ask yourself that question first, and then if it's no, it's no. But otherwise, it's good that you made the action of not coming for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you might have ruined my day.
This is what I'm saying. And I think we have to be very mindful as people of the power of our energy onto other people, into situations where, like, if you know you're just a bit off today, if your energy's a bit off, just keep that to yourself. Because also, you know, another thing I was thinking about recently as well, and obviously we're going to go into that off the back of our conversation with Divya.
Yes.
But it might even, I don't know, it might even play into that. But I do feel like we are in a generation now where a lot of people are masking this idea that their actions are down to loving themselves, but it's really narcissism.
Gosh.
I actually think it's just, like, actually, no, you're just a narcissist. Like, you actually think you are never in the wrong. That, you know, if someone tells you about themselves, that's a you problem. Not, rather than you thinking, rah, could they actually?
Exactly. Is there something in there? Like, just critiquing yourself. Because, yeah, I've been on this whole, there's mindfulness over pridefulness. Because some people.
Say that again.
Mindfulness over pridefulness. Because I've seen it where it's like almost when you're a new convert to something in particular, like it could be religion or politics, whatever the ideology is, and you get so engrossed in it that you start picking up on everything and you think, because I've now become aware of something, everybody else must now be aware of this. And because this thing, this doctrine, this scripture, whatever it is, I'm holding as fact, and I'm internalizing everything that I'm reading without actually like critically analyzing it. I'm just holding it. Anything outside of that must also be fiction. And it's like, hang on a second, your pride is getting in the way of the fact that, yo, if you actually look at everything, you will know that everything has some sort of flaw to it anyway. And B, how you're applying it in your life is for you and your life. How everyone else is going about their business, as you just said, where you didn't impress how you were feeling on me. Don't do that.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? You can't. Because if you're, especially when you're trying to purport like a notion of well-being or something good or positive or self-love or self-care, etc., it's like once you get lost in the idea that you and your ability to deliver the message is more important than the message, you've lost it. Completely lost it.
Yeah. And 100. Because also, on that note as well, though, it does annoy me sometimes where sometimes people want to focus more on the delivery than actually what the intention was sometimes. Like so there's this term like non-violent communication, and it's all like, it was coined, really, the term was coined by like this white American man. But essentially it's about love, really, and it's about like, in conflict, it's not about conflict management, but it's about in a moment of where someone's trying to say something to you, not getting too caught up in how they're saying it and the emotions, and trying to just see through that, but not in a way of like you can't be held accountable for just moving mad, but it's more about, okay, just so we can really just get to the bottom of this. What does this person want from me? What does this person need from me? But at the same time, it's not just about that person. It's also about how you are communicating as well, where take a minute and think to yourself, when I kind of went off of that person, how much of that could I have like just maybe managed my anger or managed my whatever, so they could like, what when I was telling them that, was I telling them in a way that they can really hear what I'm asking for or what I'm asking them to do? Again, it's a two-way thing though. It's not just about you can go around, like, one, it's not about anyone can just talk to you anyhow and you must always, you know, and at the same time, but you got to watch yourself, which so it's like, I get it in a sense of also like, it is also about how you communicate and the delivery as well, but I also feel like sometimes people use that as a scapegoat to just not actually deal with the actual point. 100%. My mum does it all the time to me. Well, she used to. No, I mean, but it's about how you said it. If you would have just said it like this, no, but did you get what I said?
Yeah, because if you got what I said, then let's talk about that bit really more than anything.
But yeah, basically, I feel like we're very much in a day and age now where we just, you should love yourself, yes, and just love yourself, shit. But you should love yourself. But loving yourself is also holding yourself accountable 100%. For like when you're just moving mad. Loving
yourself means you have to be the hardest on yourself, harder than anybody else.
But at the same,
love can be like that. It will make you feel like it's not that everything is dandelion and roses. It's not that at all. It's okay, I need to take care of myself. I need to get myself in a space that I've probably not been in, or I need to like change certain things to make sure that the best version of myself can come out of this, etc. Like, you can't just say, yeah, I love myself, all right, cool, I'm gonna just sit down, post some stuff on Instagram, and that's love.
Yeah.
That's
or like loads of people around me are angry at me, but that's all their problem. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm not the common denominator in this at all.
It's not my fault. Look at yourself, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe that's just how you decided to take it. No, because I hate that objectiveness of like,
that you were offended.
Oh
man.
If you want to wind me up,
I'm sorry if you were offended.
if you want to wind me up, because also, I was going to say a really good point there, and where has it gone? Narcissism, self-love. Yeah, that's it also though. At the same time of like being hard on yourself, one thing that I took away from my therapy sessions, which it sounds really obvious, but I never put it like that like, basically I've been super critical on myself, like whether it's like what I look like, whether it's like me not feeling like I'm not working hard enough or whatever, and that's also come from my upbringing of just coming from a super critical family, which I guess is almost about kind of having that ownership. When you're quite critical, it's like I have an opinion and I have to say something that goes against what everyone else is because I want to feel my voice is being heard and whatever, all this nonsense. Some people think you're an adult if you have something super critical to say about something. I call it like the risk assessments, that shit. No one's asking for your risk assessment. No one's like, but have you thought of this? Anyway, the opposite of being super critical is being super compassionate with yourself. And I realized, wow, I actually haven't been that compassionate. Yeah, there's sometimes where it's actually like, instead of thinking to myself, do you know what I mean, that you haven't worked, you didn't do everything you planned to do today, you haven't worked hard enough, you've been slacking. The opposite of that is, you're tired, you've done as much as you could. Yes, you know, you could do a bit more, but how about have an early night tonight, take the time we need, tomorrow we'll get up, we'll sort this, or like, let's go through stuff. You know what you did do? You managed to sort out that. Like, there's a different way 100%. Of looking. Yeah,
even that conversation with self is that, for whatever reason, that one is harder than the one of like, okay, you're not doing enough, all right, let's get going. Okay, tomorrow, like, oh no, right now you got to focus on this task and get this task done, etc. And I'm like, I've very much learned, okay, have that, just as you said, where it's like, okay, Alex, Lemzi, wherever you want to I know, governments, go on. When you see me in the street, go on, Alex, you know what I mean? But have that conversation of like, you know what, you're probably just really tired, you know what, you deserve that thing, whether it's that evening off or potential holiday or that meal that you might want to go and get, like all of these things. Like, you do have to be, if you are gonna truly love yourself, it is that thing of, yes, be hard on yourself, because you know you need to nurture yourself and make sure you push yourself, but as you just said, you have to be the opposite as well. You have to be compassionate, man. And
I don't even think it's like being hard on yourself. I think it's just more being honest with yourself.
Yeah, that's a better word.
Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like
and that's how you know if it's time to be compassionate or not, like, or what you require, because you're just being real.
This is it. And the thing is, like, again, now when you see the conversation around like self-love, and it's just like, it isn't just completely, you know, do what you want, eat what you want, drink what you want, whatever. Like, if you know, like, again, it's about what does my body actually need in me in order for me to be the best that I can be. Because you might think, do you know what? Fuck society. I'm gonna eat all the chocolate I want to eat them. But really,
that's still doing something.
Yeah, exactly. And
impact.
Do you know what I mean? And it isn't that because that's your body doesn't need it. I think it's again placing these things of like, what are the core ingredients that you need for you to feel as if like you like feel fulfillment. Like what are the, and it's different for everybody though. Do you know what I mean? And this comes down to like your core values and stuff. Like it's different, but every day are you making the right decisions in order to know that like I'm serving myself today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow, we're really...
I know, we went here.
It's a great Monday chat, isn't it?
Yeah. Paris will be proud.
I know, exactly. But yeah, which actually that does tie... Yes.
It really connects, because I was literally just thinking, yes, that's exactly how we have to... That's, in my mind, that's like the place we need to seek to be, where every day, as much of your attention to how much of this is positively affecting me or going to benefit me is what we need to be at. However, we live in very difficult circumstances, a lot of us, where it's, even with just the raise of inflation that happened recently and just the raise of prices for gas and your bills, and all of a sudden you have another external thing that you now have to consider that's going to have some sort of impression on you, your well-being, your financial being, whatever it is as well. Like, it's tough. And the reason anybody who's listening is thinking, but how does this tie in? Reason this ties in is because we're dealing with systems, typically systems that are created and then, imposed on the majority of people, created by a very small number of people, and they seek the or reap the benefits of the fact that you, me, anybody who's listening, we're all going to have to like go through more struggles, which mean we don't get to focus on ourselves as much. We don't get to have that reflection of how are you actually feeling really. That question of just giving that to yourself, we're going to have to mitigate that due to the fact that, as I said before, it might be raises in prices. Or if we're thinking specifically about what we spoke about with Divya, it's just how do we circumvent these current institutional structures that are not really serving enough people? How do we get past the tokenistic nature to the more authentic nature? And again, that's a lot of conversations, finding the people who you feel resonate with, whatever your idea of improving yourself is, or improving the situation is, because sometimes it is beyond you, just yourself, but it's like, okay, there's other people I know who are going to benefit from this ideal or this structure instead, and getting to that point. Yeah.
Sorry, because like halfway through that, I was just Googling a term that I know I'm going to pull out at the right point.
Cool.
That, because I think also, so I guess in a way of like just pulling from maybe my own experiences of I have, again, if we're talking about honouring ourselves and serving ourselves, and that also comes down to our environments, like where we're in and how taxing that can be. When we very much, we live in the UK. We are part of, I guess, the black minority here. Not globally. Like globally, actually, the population of black and brown people is way larger than we're fed all the time. And you forget that. It's this way of like separating us from a greater mass. And in a way of like disarming us, in a way of saying, using like language like minority and whatever. But however, we are in the UK, even though we're in London, so that's a whole nother different like vibe. But you often find yourselves in workspaces and places or environments or organizations where you look around and you probably not going to see that many people that look like you, especially if you are now moving more into places where I guess almost like more successful areas. Because I guess if you're thinking of retail, working on a shop floor, you're probably going to see bare people that look like you. But now I guess when you work your way up, and you know your paycheck's getting nicer, but then you start to look around you and you're like, people are getting whiter. People are getting whiter. And then you start, and then do you know what it is as well? And it took me a long time, unfortunately, to realise that this is having a massive psychological effect on me because I'm tired. Because we go in and we're doing this code switching. We're not turning up as our authentic selves. We're deliberately trying to almost just mould ourselves into something that's not too offensive or disruptive. to people, and especially at the age I'm at now, and again the conversation we're talking about serving ourselves, I know that's not healthy for me.
Not at all.
But at the same time, the paycheck is healthy.
But that feeds one aspect of your life, and it's like, does that help you physically, like getting that? Maybe it does, but maybe it doesn't, because all of a sudden your hours are all going to this thing, so now you can't even go for a jog or even just for a walk, even stuff like that, where I know that going for walks is something that really, really helps me, just generally. I don't think about all of the health benefits and all of this stuff, but I know just from doing it, oh, this really feels good, but that comes down to time. So then I think, okay, is my time better serve me thinking, all right, this is going to pay me X, or actually just having that walk? And that's part of that compassionate conversation I've been having to have occasionally as well, where it's like, you might have to lose out on that aspect, let's say it's a financial aspect, because you actually need that
100
whatever well-being aspect a little bit more at this moment in time. There was something you said that I was like, yeah, that is spot on.
What were we?
Yes, it was.
We look around, everyone's getting whiter.
I think that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, no, it's because it reminded me of when Divya was saying, you guys have obviously worked together and everything. She was saying how it's heavy when it's like, it's two people and you're in an institution where even if it seems like everyone's looking to do the right thing, quote unquote, it's like all of a sudden, all of those eyes are on you.
Yeah.
And it's like, tell us what to do, or you
Yeah.
have to lead this, or now it's all on, like, you must do this. And it's like, whoa, you're asking me to undo a whole system of oppression that's
which one
affected
person can't do.
generations of people.
And you're not paying me anymore.
This wasn't in my job description when I first got here, but because of who we are in a workplace, typically that is what's going to have to come with it, which is, well, in certain workplaces, not in all of them. And that's why I'm super grateful for where I'm at right now, because even wearing my own clothes,
it's
or
power
having a
in
choice
that.
of what I want to wear,
It's power.
100%. Because when you're given the idea of the suit, tie, trousers, shoes, all of this stuff, don't get me wrong, it's nice to dress smart sometimes. It's like you're going to a wedding, you got something going, cool, sick. But when I had to do it and I have no choice, I remember going for when I was at my last job, oh man, just the idea of, I have to wear these clothes, I have to be here at this time, I have to. And it was that sense of trying to squeeze into an ideal of, I was in the city, I was earning a salary, I was wearing a suit and tie, but knowing that doesn't actually resonate with who I am as a person, that was very damaging for me, because it was like, oh my gosh, does that mean I'm a failure now? Does that mean that I'm not bound for success because I can't do it the way that was mostly prescribed to me? It's difficult, man.
It is.
Or it can be, yeah.
It is difficult. And I think it's funny because with the conversation with Divya, I think we only used the term institutionalized racism maybe once.
Yeah.
And it's basically, this is all part of that big monster. Like, it's all part. And the thing is, and again, I think we touched on it slightly like ages ago when we done like maybe our first Infacts podcast, and we're talking about Black Lives Matter protests and people not really understanding systemic racism and institutionalized racism. Like, and I know there's some people that just maybe just see racism as it's just physical violence like
or
it's just
N-words
and
it's
really
just obvious stuff.
Yeah, exactly. When no, it's when things have been built one off the backs of oppression for time, but then also just navigating, like as a Black person trying to navigate through organizations, systems, institutions that are not fit for you. They don't work for you. Like, you can't even, like, an example is, for instance, just not even being able to get into the workplace because because your last name, no one wants to see it. But even down to educational level, like some people haven't had access to a great level of education, so now they can't apply for that job. And that because it starts way back then. Then we're also thinking about the language that's used on application forms. Like, what are you asking people when they're applying, like, for certain jobs? Like, it's just certain things. Like, there's even some jobs where you have to have a degree from a particular university, and if you look at the demographic of that university, it's majority white people. So already at the door there's all these barriers. And then when they say you even get in, then you've got to deal with the fuckery of when you're in there. You got to deal, like, you got to watch your tone, the way you talk. You can't, you've got to subscribe to that culture of working. Because I think to myself as well, like, it's so interesting because I was talking to like, so I'm part of my ERG group at my workplace now, which has only been set up right now. ERG meaning Employment Resource Group, which essentially is for a particular, I guess, community or demographic in the workplace, where it's specifically to solely focus on the needs of that demographic. Cool. I mean, at the same time, it's like, you can't just have an ERG and think that that's going to change everything. No, because you need that sponsor from someone that's in a position of power, which again is even like, it's, you go around in these circles where it's like you still need, I guess, the oppressor to say, yeah, okay, we'll do that. However, so yeah, I'm part of my ERG there for people of colour there. We're dealing with a name at them. Well, we're going through names with maybe going with like global majority. That actually, shout out to Divya, because I remember she actually said that to me and I was like, I like that. It's that power in that language. But I remember we even just talking about just workplace culture and like lunch breaks and how lunch breaks and like the stuff you do after work is kind of how you build the relationships with people in your workplace. And if your idea of what you want to do on a lunch break isn't the same as what everyone else wants to do, like for instance, I might be invited to, or definitely in other workplaces, 100%, Amelia, we're all going to go here for lunch. You want to come? And I don't really want to because the things you're going to talk about are not the things that I'm going to want to talk about. And even if I do want to talk about what I want to talk about, I'm going to have to explain. Like, imagine I want to talk about Top Boy. Oh no, I haven't watched that. Or basically, it's set in Hackney. It's about like drug dealing. Basically, you know, but it's like a fake. You just can't be asked. Or like this whole thing of like, if you don't drink alcohol, it's going to the pub. Yeah. I'm sorry, the pub is a very like, it's kind of like
a British cultural, like,
exactly.
It's a sanctuary in this country.
Do you know what I mean? And like,
there's nothing wrong with the pub.
No,
it's the idea of, as you're saying, it's like, that's where a lot of people build their relationships. And that's why even when it comes to the man-woman dynamic in a lot of these workplaces, it's predominantly men who are going to these pubs, having a drink, and women have had to kind of like feel they're almost infiltrating the space to even feel comfortable enough in that space. And then you're missing out on certain conversations that John and Jack are having, and then they come in the next day like, oh, you remember that? Yeah, let's sign the papers on what we're talking about. You're like, hang on a second.
Exactly. And I remember, you know, I watched a short film on Disney, and like, cause they got these Pixar shorts, and I wish I can remember what it was called, but it was basically about this workplace culture, and it was more about kind of like your men's working club, and how when women join those I guess those workspaces, a lot of the time women, for the way they're going to fit in is like just fit in the mold of like being a bit more of a lad, being a bit more like this. And you find that with like just black people, brown people, like if you want to fit in, you find yourself almost leaving parts of yourself at the door. Because I'll even clock it like, and I've stopped now though. I've stopped now because when I started working at the Barbican, I said I'm coming as myself. I'm gonna wear tracksuits when I want to wear tracksuits. I'm gonna listen to grime and rap and drill and Afrobeat and all the music I want to listen to in the office. I'm gonna talk about what I want to talk about. I'm not gonna go to things if I don't want to go to things but I've reached this point because I'm just tired. But I also knew at the same time, because of the conversations that are being just in general around institutions and its institutionalized racism, I'm just like, there's great power now into like, it's almost activism in a way of like, I'm gonna be myself.
No, facts. Like, being yourself is one of the most empowering things that you can do, not just for yourself but for other people as well. Because you coming in a tracksuit, there's a reason that other places will say you must wear XYZ, because all of a sudden people seeing your individuality is going to spark other people to feel like they can express theirs. And once people start doing that, I don't know, some people might look at that as an issue. Other people will be like, oh, this is beautiful, like everyone's coming as themselves, they're really bringing all of their individuality into the workplace. Other people, if they got a set mindset where it's like, no, this is what I need in order for X to happen, and it has to be done in the way that I envisage it, it creates problems, and they don't know how to handle it as well. Because it creates, you see how you were just mentioning top where we have to like explain it. Some people don't want to hear explanations as well. They want to have it the way they know, and that's it, and it's clean and cut like that. Exactly,
it's disruptive. And actually trying to break down, or even dare I say eradicate, institutionalized racism is going to be hella disruptive, because ultimately it's been working very, very well for people that have been benefiting from that.
100.
Very, very well. And the minute you start coming for people's privileges, they feel like they're being oppressed. They feel like, oh, God, I'm going to have to watch what I say now. Well, I can't use that language in the, oh my God, people are just too sensitive, or, oh, well, we're going to have to start, employing more. Like, it's just, and the thing is, even just that, like, you employ, like, okay, if you're a particular organization now and you want to, in the thick of Black Lives Matter process, you look to yourself, it's too many white people, we're going to employ more black people. That is not going to solve your problems, because suddenly employing more black people doesn't mean now you've resolved all the racism in the workplace. Because my thing is, what is that environment saying? How long is that black person staying there until they have to leave because their mental health is on the floor, or they're just leaving their authentic self at the door? Which one is it? Because just because, oh yeah, I walk in and I'm seeing black people, or I'm seeing brown people, I'm not going to suddenly think to myself, there's no issues here whatsoever. No,
it gives the face of feeling like you might be more comfortable, because you might feel like, cool, I can have certain conversations, but yeah, it doesn't mean that the actual, and this is what Divya was saying before actually, which was really, really, it was just the main thing that I took away from it was about the systems rather than the personnel, because we're all flawed, and every system is run by people. So it's about not necessarily sometimes who's at the helm, even though that is important, but what's the ideas and ideology that they're upholding and trying to maintain. What are those systems? Because a great word that Divya was saying to me when we had all finished was decentralization. And not just institutionalized racism, just institutions in general. We have to think about how can we decentralize things to empower community groups, different people from different walks of life, and make them feel like, oh, I don't need, for instance, to go to this single funding source, because all of a sudden finances are more spread out. It's decentralized. It's coming from different places, which means ideas can flourish from different places. She was talking about doing some really good work. I don't want to minimize it at all, but it was essentially about being the conduit for loads of different community groups. So rather than being, I think it was a case of, sure, this institution that she's worked with before or is a part of, they would typically be like, cool, we have the funding, apply to us, and we'll give out the funding. Whereas now she's saying, no, what we're going to start doing is there will be different groups in different regions. So let's just say it was in London. They might say, cool, all of the boroughs, you have your own community panels. Amongst those panels, those are the ones who are now going to communicate with those different members of the community, and that's how the funding's going to get divvied up and da-da-da-da-da. I'm thinking, this makes so much sense. Because even when I think about like my borough, I'm like, because we've done work with certain big institutions, even places like the Barbican, for instance, and it's like, being able to have that direct conversation and just spread it, because when it comes to say rap or just anything like that, I'm usually like the person in Wolfen Forest who has that conversation. It's do you know how many other people there are? Like, I need to talk to all of these lot and make sure, like, we might do a festival or whatever, but is it the same thing that everyone who really want this to go like this kind of thing? So decentralization, in conclusion of that little bit there, decentralization in my head is like, cool, that is a big thing. Big thing. Definitely.
But I think it's just this idea of like power and sharing power. And I remember at the Barbican they had this brilliant like course, or I wouldn't even say course, but like a few online talks around like power and what that actually looks like. And there was one in particular that was speaking about just sharing power. And I this is what I think some institutions need to get to grips with. Like, you're big and you're powerful because you could get, whether it's through the money that you have, the platform that you have, the people that you can reach, your reputation. But again, I guess it's also like decentralizing it. It's like, now give out that power, share it. Like, you solely can't do everything. And I think, again, this is it as well, with like, now when you want to look at how do we make our organization not as racist as it is, like, sometimes you need to, do you know what it is? Sometimes it's knowing that like, you might be the person with the job, but you're not the person for the job. So you might think, do you know what I mean? Like, you might have it, but sometimes you have to look at like, am I really the person that can deliver this? Or is there someone out in the community that understands this way better than I do? And I think, yes, a lot of the time, this is probably why you are going to look towards black or brown people, or even if it's now to do with LGBTQI rights or whatever, you're going to look to people with that lived experience, because there's so much more power in you actually living it, as opposed to you thinking, oh, but I've studied sociology and and I understand how different ecosystems work, and I understand like there's a difference in just lived experience. But I think people need to get to grips with, like, there's power in sharing that power. There's power in saying, I guess, like, do you know what? We need to carry out this work or whatever. We think you will be really good with it. Here's the money for you to carry it out. We're going to support you. It's okay to just say that, as opposed to, no, this needs to be owned by us. Like, I want to have my name on this to say that I did. And it's like, but you're actually a middle-aged, like, white woman. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like
it doesn't even make sense.
And the thing is, also, it's like, no one's saying that, like, you can't carry out that work, but I think it says so much about you if you're also aware of who you are. Like, stop trying to eradicate your whiteness.
Just no, for real.
Don't,
that's
like,
who you are.
Don't. Because that's why you have to look at, like, how did you get to where you got to, and why was it not someone else that didn't look like you? Your whiteness has actually carried you through a lot of systems harm-free. Yes, there's still harm, because, again, there's intersectionality. Like, it's different for everyone, but you have not been navigating through a system that has been gunning for you because the color of your skin. You haven't. So even certain things, like, I remember, like, I don't even want to be too specific about, like, workplaces, but, like, for instance, like, if you think about mothers, there's certain things that they're not going to be able to do at certain times or whatever. So let's just say you're an institution and you want to do something nice for your organization, and you might say, oh, we're going to throw everyone a breakfast at 8 in the morning or whatever. That might be good for you if you're a white man and you don't have kids, or you got someone taking care of your kids or whatever. But mothers, are you really factoring, like, how... is that accessible for everyone? Do you know what I mean? And sometimes people might do things that come in thinking it's coming from a good place, but this is also when you need more people in a room that have different perspectives and lived experiences that go, actually, that's not gonna run. That's not really gonna work. That's not really gonna land, because you got to factor in, they got to do this and this, or people got to do this and this, or even, again, language that's used. I feel like a lot of places go very wrong with thinking that they can use certain forms of language, or even if you think about adverts, and it's like, who thought this was okay? You telling me no one said,
nobody in the building
said, nah, this is problematic, because you're all like, this looks, do you know what I mean? But again, it's like, how do we get the people in those rooms? How do we get more diversity in policymakers? I feel like I'm on my soapbox here, so I'm gonna talk about no, man, it's a lot.
It goes to what you were saying last time as well, or kind of how I responded to what you're saying, where it's like, there's the either or there's the both thing, and it's like, I don't know, I feel they're going through the current systems and trying to destabilize them or change them for what they are, but in some way kind of maintain them, is one route. And I think it takes really, really, like, strong-willed people to even be able to do that, because that is the people where it's like, oh, you're in a building, everyone's looking at you, what are you going to do about it? Oh, we need you to change it, and da-da-da. It's like, I didn't come here for this. I came here to work and then go home to my family potentially or whatever it was, etc. So that is definitely one way, and it's very, very important. But it's also what Divya was saying before as well, which is, as a producer, you effectively are just creating your own spaces. These spaces that didn't, and even what we were doing, as you said as well, like, creating these spaces that didn't exist before. It might be a format that's already there, whether it's a live show or some form of public networking or whatever it is, but, like, your version of it, your individual imprint on what this thing is, who it's for, the time of when it's coming in, who it's going to support, etc. Like, that's super important as well in my head, like, having these new spaces, because, again, it goes even to, as I say, you wearing your own tracksuit into work, all of a sudden people are like, oh, I can do that, like, I can actually do that. Oh, this is a space that seems more familiar now. Oh, I'm gonna go over here and chat to Divya, because let's say with what she does, for instance, she was saying how, like, loads of people will come, like, this is how I feel underrepresented, I don't feel I've got a space, I feel like I need something. And whilst it's sick that there will be people in the spaces that are already established trying to work their way through, that takes a long time, a long generation sometimes,
Yeah.
to actually get to that point. But as she also said, takes being quite bold, taking a risk to be the other one where it's like, cool, I'm just gonna make a whole new space. No idea what it's actually gonna look like. No idea how many people are gonna support it. You just have to really believe in it, like to really enact that and make that sick.
But then again, it's also, like you said, risk, but also, I guess, how much energy it's going to cost you as well. Because and I think it's so important that people are reminded that you can solely, as one person, not eradicate systematic racism. And it's something that's been working very well for a very, 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 very long time. And it's going to take years to firstly change people's attitudes that still uphold it, but like the damage, even just the damage that is done, full stop, just trying to tend to that. When you are creating these spaces as well, it can get really exhausting because you're also gonna keep coming up against people that don't get it, that don't see the value in it. You might have managed to pull off one event or created something once and it worked really well. The next minute that funding's gone. You can't do it again. And then it's disheartening because did you not see the value in what I done there? And sometimes that is just out of maybe that producer's hands or maybe who else, because it's like sometimes you're getting a funder from a funder from a funder from a funder who just seems so far removed. But I think it's just constantly exhausting to be convincing people of your value and just being like, no, this is valuable. Like us doing this is value. Exactly. There's so much value to it. And again, it's just like Divya was even talking about in terms of like the assessments afterwards to kind of prove how successful it is. Like, how are we measuring this success? What, because you had like 200 people come and then they forgot about it within 2 days. Or you've had 5 people come down and 3 of them have now gone off and set up their own thing. Like, how are we measuring impact here? What is the change that you want to see? And this is when I think the difference between whether it's tokenistic or authentic to me, because tokenistic is like putting on a show for everyone, like, oh yeah, you know, we're doing this, you have no care, like what happens to the performers after, the people involved,
it's like momentary.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas like afterwards, where it's like you want to follow up, you want to see, oh, this person's gone on to do this, like, and that real change. And for me, I feel like real change is, and I think even Paris said it, like, in her episode, they'll be like, if you're trying to be for everyone, you're actually going to be for no one. And it's this idea of like this number of like, I'm going to affect everyone on just what, like a very small like percentage, like not really touch the surface.
Are you even affecting them, or you just become aware?
Yeah, exactly.
People are just aware.
Or you like care about like one person's life, like you've impacted one person's life that's now gone on to set up an organization to do this, and now it's like, but again, it's like it's exhausting to try and convince people that this is needed,
because it can tie into like, let's say like music artists and their careers. I know a lot of artists who, even me myself, like you'll get messages occasionally where someone's like, either a particular song or a particular performance or a particular moment, it's like, yo, I really needed to hear this, or thank you for XYZ kind of thing. That kind of stuff gets people going so much. But then, you know, it's hard as an independent artist in London, for instance, like there's so much competition, saturation, all this kind of stuff, and there's not loads of money. And if you're not hitting the heights as like what you purport should be happening, that's also super disheartening, because all of your energy, creativity, probably your money, your time is going into this thing. And it's like those types of messages or bits of communication you have with people, that's the impact thing that you might see. Not everyone else is getting a chance to see that, but even if they do, some people won't even measure that as real success. They'll say it's like, okay, that's a nice thing that happened, but have you sold X amount of tickets yet, or what are your streaming numbers and all this kind of stuff? And it's like, when we can shift the value from, or value systems, when we can shift the value from, if it's like streaming numbers or how many people are turned up, to something like what you said, where it's like 3 people out of the 5 people that came have gone on to do their own thing, who have listened to this artist have bought their own music studio or got into the music industry somehow. Like if we can measure that kind of stuff, that can change a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, because when you're talking as well, because also one, I was trying to be like, I mean, stop thinking about what you're going to say. Listen to what Lemzi say, because he's spoken about this. But it just sparked another thing in my head that obviously when, yeah. So for instance, let's say you're working in an organisation, or actually when you want to create change, I guess when you're creating these spaces, and I found myself in this position a few times where you have to almost also say who it's not for. Because I think a lot of the times, especially like with black culture, I can't speak for Asian culture, but I can imagine it's probably the same, where it's always this thing of you want to be super inclusive. So you almost dilute it a little bit, where it's like, we don't feel like we can say, no, actually, this is just for us.
Yeah.
It's not for you. And because, like, for instance, I had this conversation in a workplace, I'm not going to name where, but in a workplace where it was like, okay, if we create this group for people of colour, I don't even know how I feel about that term, but yeah, for people of colour or black and brown people in the workplace, are we saying, like, if it's going to be like almost like activist group, are we allowing white people in that space? And my instinctive reaction was firstly, no, because if we're going to generate conversations, I want people to feel like they can speak freely and not have to, I guess, watch what they say to manage the harm that their truth is, but they don't want to offend, or they don't want it to be turn into a space where they're having to educate and whatever. And I'm not saying that means white people can never be in these spaces, but I was met with the other opinion of, well, aren't we just doing the same thing now of like segregating? And I was thinking, but then this is when this conversation always starts to get derailed, where it's like, the whole thing of what we're trying to do is this ownership of ourselves and the value of it. And the minute we start to already go, oh, but we have to let everyone else feel included in this. I think there's so much power in saying, no, actually, this is just for X, Y, and Z. This is just for us. Whatever that purpose is for. Yeah. And I remember actually there was an event that I did time ago. Shout out to Hackney Showroom. And again, I was creating a platform. What was it? I think I was creating, that's when I done my first poetry event. Okay, it was all for women poets. And I think they asked me like, oh, do you want to let any like male poets perform or any men perform? And I was like, kind of like, I guess if they've got poetry about women, obviously I was younger then, and literally Hackney Showroom had to be like, no, Amelia, it's fine to say no. Yeah. Like, it's actually just for this. Like, it's fine. And I think, what's so interesting?
Who was trying to convince you otherwise?
No one was. I think they just genuinely asked me. They just genuinely asked me like, okay. And I think they may be just testing to see like, are you going to give yourself that permission to say, nah, it's just, because also I think about queer spaces. Because you also got to think about that safety in that space. Is it going to be the same space now as if you might have people, and again, it's like, okay, you might be an ally, but also if you're an ally, you're going to let people have their spaces. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like when you're creating a space like that, if we are specifically talking about racism and you're in an institution and you want to just have a free, open conversation, I think if you're also an ally, you will appreciate that. You would say, you tell, like, I want to help and support you. Don't feel like, but why can't I come in? I just find it a bit mad. I just find it a bit mad. And I had to just basically put my foot down and say, I think the first few meetings that we do, it should just be people like people of colour, first and foremost, to create that space, that ownership, to allow a free, safe conversation. And I'm not saying like no one's going to get offended in that space, because again, it's all intersectionality anyway. But if right at the first hurdle we're already going, but because there might be someone in that room that's like, I can't speak that freely now because actually like someone's gonna go, sorry, what do you mean by that? But you know what I mean? And that's not saying that white people can't be in these spaces at all. But I think if you're truly an ally, you're not gonna take it personally if someone's saying, you know what, I just need this time and space for me and for us right now. And then we will decide when you can come.
Collectively. Do
you know what I mean?
We'll say the door's open or not.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's interesting. No, because I agree with you. because I feel like, especially when you're trying to enact. No, let me go back a step. Sorry. First of all, it depends on objective as well. Like, what's the objective? Is the objective where it's like we want a safe space, or is it like we just want to freely express, or is it etc.? That comes down to, okay, cool. At what point then do other people, whether it's based on race, sexual identity, or orientation, or anything else, at what point do people not of this, I don't know, this group or subgroup, whatever it is, actually get to be involved with it? But no, I agree with you, because I feel like if you need to make a change of something as well, and there's other people who agree with you, but even just, let's just say it's an individual thing, there has to be a hard line somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, if it is, okay, like 98% in, 2% not quite like, you can't have that. You generally need to have that. No, this is 100%, it's going this way. And the hard no is sometimes the thing that wakes people up.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, sugar, like, maybe this is a thing where I can't be there. Hang on a second. Let me, again, it goes back to that reflection thing as well. Like, you personally may not have done anything.
Yeah.
But you just have to be aware of, oh, this is beyond me. This is bigger than who I am. This is a situation where people feel like they need that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't think there is.
Say with your lineup, if it's an all women lineup,
yeah, exactly.
run it.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be an International Women's Month where it's like, no, I just want an all women's lineup.
Yeah. And that was just that's just like a very light example, for instance.
Of course, yeah.
But there probably are workplaces and spaces that maybe are setting up ERGs or whatever, and you have to ask yourself this question, like, okay, are we allowing anyone that doesn't identify with this particular demographic in? Is that going to be the case forever? Is there going to be two types of spaces where we have one where it's just for that community and then for the community and allies? Like, and I think like you said, just having a hard no, it's okay. And like this, I know some people's argument might be like, oh no, but we're just doing the same thing. How many times have we not? Because there's also, how many times have we just been in spaces where you feel like the only one and you've not felt comfortable? Like, we've been doing that. It's about now having that ownership back. It's about creating the opposite of that, where you feel like this is a space by me, for me. And it's a space that's taking care of me. And again, obviously it's different as well, because I'm not saying now if you're throwing like a hip hop event or maybe an event that's like around like black music that you can only have like black people coming. Like, no, not like that, because you can appreciate the art form as well, and plus give me your money, whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? But it's definitely not that. But you know what's so interesting? Recently, when I went to go and see Keep Vibes Near at Box Park in Shoreditch, and again, this is not even necessarily around like race. I guess it's more about the culture of the music and like just anyway, so I'm in there loving it, vibes in. Got like Harvey White performing, Keep Vibes Near performing, like a couple of artists that I know in there, whatever. The music's very much like hip hop, like jazzy, all of that. But then obviously the DJ's spinning tunes in between. Now I'm just there now. I think Keep Vibes Near has finished performing now. I'm just sipping on my drink, just having like conversation with people around me. And these three white boys caught my attention. Now obviously the crowd's very mixed. Yeah. They caught my attention because I could see them taking the piss out of people. Like, they were like, no, people just around. No, basically like one of them had a cap on, decided to put it to the back and was like doing all this kind of like, you like, but it's like you're almost make it gimmicky, like, I'm gonna do whatever. And I could hear what they were saying. And they were like, along the side, they're like, oh, why is everyone in here so aggressive? Like, wait, you're right, bruv. Like, they were doing all this, like taking the piss out of the language, whatever. So obviously I'm just staring at them now, because I'm thinking, you really coming in here to do that? Like, I can tell you're not here to appreciate what's going on. I can tell you're coming in here almost to kind of start some trouble. And I can see them talking to people like, oh, you're right, mate. And I just thought, so now one of the guys caught me like, oh, no, actually, no. I think they started talking to the girl that I was next to, and they were just saying some wild shit. So I was just like looking at this guy in particular. He was like, oh, you're right. I was like, are you all right? He was like, oh no, like, why is everyone aggressive? I was like, no one's being aggressive in here to me. I feel like as well, like. I was like, do you have an agenda or something? He's like, no, I don't know what you mean. And then like, I kind of left it, and then they slowly like left the room, because obviously in a little small room there. But I actually thought, this is what I mean about like safety sometimes, because let's not forget, there are people generally that just don't like you for whatever reason, whether it's your race, your religion, your gender. They don't like you, and they want to find spaces where they can carry out their hatred. So again, when we're talking about creating a safe space, sometimes you have to be mindful of that. And it even came down with when we're talking about, you know, not all men and not all white people and not all, yes, but when the oppressor or the perpetrator looks like a certain way, sometimes you might have to differentiate. Like, I know that might not be you, but right now when we're trying to just create this, we just need this first. Because you might be coming in. Because also look at the Black Panthers movements though, because there was like even inside people that wanted to get into there, making it look like, I'm with you. You were there just actually to break it up from the inside. And that was even coming as some black people as well that was
no, of course. That's,
do you know what I
mean?
mean?
They could infiltrate.
But again, like, that's why when you're creating these spaces, I think 100% it's okay to be a bit strict on who the space is for, and anyone who's really for the cause shouldn't get offended. That's long story short what I had to say. But I remember just looking at these white guys and I just thought, Rob, why are you doing that? And the thing is, I'm saying like white boys, it's probably might even be more that they're class for them, because obviously the crowd was so mixed. Like, it was so mixed. We're in London, we're in East London. This is our sound. This is what we do. But you come in here to like just mock it, and you're talking about people are moving aggressive. No one was moving aggressive. No one.
I genuinely can't imagine that kind of gig. Like,
everyone was chilled. It was love. Everyone was talking to people. I rocked up on my own, like just chatting to people, and you've come in to disrupt it for your own agenda. And again, you're using this harmful language. Like, you're using deliberate like terms that you know is going to antagonize people.
Like aggressive straight away. And I was going to ask you, when you're talking about spaces, are you thinking private, public, both? Like, what do you...
I think when I say the word space, I'm meaning more whatever you're creating. It's like a generic when I'm saying spaces. I'm not actually thinking of like places in a way. I'm thinking more about, for instance, when you create an event, you're creating a space in that sense. Like, you're creating a space where this is going to happen. If it's an ERG in your workplace, you're creating a space where this is... I'm just thinking more about the, I guess, parameters mainly of like that, and like what are the rules that everyone's subscribing to in that, and like what is it for, what we getting out of it. So just a bit more like floaty language than as opposed to actual like do you know, this physical space.
No, because I wasn't thinking like physical space. I was more thinking, is it a thing where it's like if it's public, for instance, like say these guys, anybody can just walk through the door kind of thing. There's nothing on the front of the door that says this is a space particularly for the only thing it would say, keep eyes on here, Harvey White and whoever else on the lineup. You're not,
it's very mad, you're not really, you're not gonna have like on the door like no. Do you know what I mean? When we move past them fucking tires, man. But no. But my thing is, and this is why I say this as well, now when you're creating a space in an organization to almost combat these things where you got that happening outside public spaces, it's almost now taking back that ownership. It's that like we don't have control over the spaces that we can be in before. And hence why I come into some of these workspaces, I can't bring my plantain and my jollof rice and whatever, because Susie, someone's gonna ask me, oh, is that banana? Like, just little things like that. Like, you just want, like, you can feel the difference when you're in a space of like just people that get you and understand you, as opposed to like, oh, I'm so over it.
With the inquiries, I think it's kind of like with the guys who you mentioned though. It's like, where is it coming from? Is it like you're genuinely inquisitive? Because sometimes I don't like, this is jollof. You never had jollof? Oh yeah, this is what it tastes like. It's what it's made. But if it is almost like, what's that? There's already a certain tone that comes over. It's like, that's when I start. Immediately I'm like, I can't be bothered, man. I just want to eat at
but especially at work.
Where it's like, we're for work.
My
lunch is just my lunch. That's got nothing to do with my capability or anything like that. Like, that's just my lunch.
It's my break.
Yeah,
I just want to sit here in peace. Because you know what? So I had some really good training, which actually is a shame that we didn't get into this with Divya because she was on the course as well.
Oh.
But like how you internalize racism in a workplace and just all the kind of things that I guess all the things that you're internalizing. And we started to speak about just like you being a spectacle in the workplace where it's like, for instance, we were talking about, especially when it comes to like black women and their hair. It's always a topic of conversation. Oh, you changed your hair. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So, for instance, and I remember I said this not too long ago to my friends. Obviously, when I had braids in,
Yeah.
I was low key already sighing at like, oh, I'm gonna have to go and work, and then someone's gonna ask me how long did it take. Oh my god! And do you know what it is as well? And I know. For them, it's probably coming from just like, oh, I don't mean it too tough.
Like,
but when it's constant, or it's like, oh my god, your hair's amazing. This word amazing jars me now. Why is it so amazing? Why is it's plaits? Why is that so amazing?
Maybe because it's something that they can't have.
Or it's something that they don't understand. There's something new to them, which I've not sat down and looked to your hair and been like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like, no, because this is just like, oh my, this whole thing of, oh, then next week, what do you want to go and touch it? Which is still, I'll never forget when I went to Wales with my friends and I had braids in then, and the man there, because we like went on a tour around like the like mountains and stuff up there. Out of nowhere, I really like your hair. He just went to go grab it up.
Grabbed it straight.
Yeah. Because it's normal. I've never in my life grabbed up someone's hair.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. Like this, and then you're just so used to that, and that does something to you. That does something to you. And I don't care whether
what does it do to you?
It's just jarring. I can't be asked. Sometimes I don't want the attention.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're taking out your hair. How long did that take you? Or, and you know another one which we don't talk about enough, nails. If I hear one more person say to me, how do you type with those nails? I don't know. I've been doing it for fucking years. If I get asked one more time, how do you type with those nails?
What do you see questions like that? Yeah. Do you think people are usually doing that as a way of like, I have nothing else to say and I need to fill up this silence?
Get used to silence then.
Or do you think it comes from somewhere else though? Like where do you think that? Because once you say the answer, it's like, okay, cool. What do we do with that information? Like it's not a thing where someone can take that and actually use the information you're giving to them. So that's why I'm thinking like,
I know.
Why do you think people are even asking that question?
Do you know what I think it comes from? It comes from lots of places. So some people might even generally say it because, you know, they don't get their nails done a lot. Or it's a case of like, oh my God, the audacity, that's not professional. Because this whole idea of professionalism in a workplace, for a long time, women, like black women having their natural hair wasn't professional. Like having brightly coloured nails is not professional. But when we really look at the context, culturally, where is it? Are you basically saying certain aspects of my culture and my natural being? Like, fair enough, nails are not natural, but that's my way of expression. And if you look at it culturally, it's mainly certain communities where that is, it's a norm for us. It's a norm. So now I go into a very white space and suddenly it's like, oh my God, your nails, whether you like them, because you'll have one person saying it because they like it, one person saying it like, oh my God, the audacity, that's not really appropriate here. You got one person just, oh, just you're so different. Amazed. Do you know what I mean? And it's a culmination of all of that that actually shush.
Silencio.
Just don't say anything. Like, just say a comment, keep it moving. I don't want to have a whole conversation about it. Don't want to have it. Don't. And the thing is, you know what you feel as well? You feel like, oh, I've got to be polite now. I don't want them to think I'm being rude. Yeah. But you know what's interesting? But I could feel when it's genuine and it's coming from a place of, like, especially if you get your nails done too, sis, let's talk about this. Let's talk about it. Yeah, nails. But if I could tell, you're just looking at it like, do you know what I mean? Like,
no, of course. That's why I'm asking. Like, where would that question even come from? Where someone would expect an answer that creates conversation or narrative, and the only way I can see it is if, as you just said, like you both got your nails done or something, and let's talk about getting our nails done together or whatever it is, isn't it? But like, otherwise, is it that you just don't like silence and you don't know how to just carry on with your day without having to like the whole? Because I even think small talk in my head is a very like workplace, conventional workplace culture thing. Monday lunchtimes. So you get up to this weekend? What's been going on?
Can we just,
I remember when I was in the office, I remember being there on Tuesdays and thinking, no one's got anything left to say. Because you small talked it out. Like, you've already done all the small talk. You've done it. You know I did on the weekend. The next one's too far away for us to talk about it.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything last night because it was Monday night, and just do that's your thing. Just work, which is fine. But like, we don't have to have the small talk. I'm cool. I can sit in silence for a long time. Or just talk to myself. Like, I'm good with that.
But then when you think about it, probably what we've done over the weekend are probably so far removed. Yeah. Because this is my thing as well. Like, I'm like, oh yes, I went to like grime rave. Oh yeah, what storms again? Like, I just
storms.
And I think obviously, and this might also just come down to me assuming. I mean, that person might very much be like, oh yeah. And sometimes in those moments, it's like, oh yeah, cool. We like the same music or whatever. But I think you quite quickly, when you're in a very white space, my favorite word again, but you start to gauge the vibe.
Take long.
Do you know what I mean? You gauge it, and the thing is, I think in a creative space we do have much more of that freedom to be ourselves. When we look at a corporate angle, I feel for my brothers and sisters. I feel, because for me, because I know my role is all about community work and actually being a human, being a person, celebrating people through their lived experiences, whatever it is. I know I can fully come as myself because there's value in that. Like that, I got this role because I was myself, because of my lived experiences, and there's value in that. Now, if I'm working in a bank and I just decide one day, or I'm working in a very corporate space where you're actually coming here to crunch numbers and stuff. Why are you coming here in some bright yellow tracksuit and a bucket hat and like, what are you doing? Like, that don't bring that. And the thing is, we spoke about this recently, like, because I have to shout out to my department at work, which Divya is very much in. Like, I love it because the conversations we have are actually so progressive. And just even the way we talk about the way we work, we talk about ourselves and our needs, rather than I'm just coming here to produce and deliver and whatever. We're like, you can't disconnect like my needs and what you want me to do. Do you know what I mean? And we have very, very wholesome conversations, which also allows me, kind of giving me the green light that I can come as myself and I can set boundaries and I can work in ways that's good for me. And my managers said that at times, like, you do what you have to do. I mean, if you want to now have a day of no meetings, put a block in your thing, say no meetings, go offline, go somewhere, just do that. Like, it's okay to do that. So there's power in also, if you're a manager, in that, saying to people, you being yourself and putting your needs first so you can create the best work, do it. But then you have these systems where we just have these old ways of working where you should come and kill yourself in this workspace. You should do overtime and never ask to be paid extra for it. Don't talk about shit that makes you any different to anyone else here. You need to just subscribe to us and how we all are. And if we're all going to be fascinated about, oh, boy, what's that? Some fried chicken? Or do you know what I mean? Like, and there's different spaces.
No, of course. Because I was even thinking, like, off the back of that, what do you think about people because you're a very creative person and you're a very expressive person, as I would probably say I am as well. Like, not everyone is, though. A lot of people, whether it's because they've been through these institutions for so long or maybe it's a natural thing, etc., they might just think, I just want to go to work, do my work, put my head down and then get out. Like,
now, I think I'm going to use this term now.
Oh, here we go.
Because I love it, actually. And it's this term called weathering.
Okay.
And actually, I think, the full term is called weathering hypothesis, where it's essentially, I mean, they're using like black women's lives as like an example, but the way that this term was presented to me, which really resonated, was just the actual physical and psychological effects it has on you when you are constantly navigating through systems around oppression, and racism, and
so almost like you're weathering a storm kind of thing.
You're literally, and it has an effect on you. There's even actually an article saying that's one thing that's killing black people, because it's taking a toll on you. So when you're going into work and you're almost like kind of already like switching yourself off, you you're not being like, because there's almost a light that you feel like you lose in a way where you're just kind of like going in like, I'm gonna have to have all this talk that doesn't stimulate me. I can't really talk the way that I actually talk. Like I can't really celebrate in the ways that it's taking a toll on you. What was your question again?
It was so some people, as I said, you're expressive.
I'm
creative.
So and then some people they just might not, whatever, but no, it's having an effect on you. It's having, and I feel like, is it like that organization could say, do you know what, is it an essential need that we have everyone come in suit and ties all the time? Because there's other ways of looking smart, you know.
100.
There's other ways of looking smart. Or is it a case of, even like if we look at just this whole capitalized, as I say capitalized way of working, but the 9 to 5 structure, do we need to keep doing this? Is it still working? Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's a big one in my head.
But this is what I'm saying. There's just certain things that we have in place because we've always had it in place, and it's actually killing some types of people. Like, even like just even the fact of like majority of your workforce is all white people, mainly white people, and you have 2% of black people, and you seem to think as you, because that doesn't mean anything to you, that's okay. That has a psychological effect on you. Like that has it, because there's this idea of cultural nourishment as well. If you're, because also not only are you going to work Monday to Friday, but then you're also coming out of work, walking the streets as a black person, navigating all systems of harm that way. Are you gonna get stopped by police? Is this, are you going to be on a bus and be racially attacked? Are you like, there's all these other ways that these harmful systems have an effect on us. So it's not, the workplace is just another one of those.
Yeah. And okay, so playing devil's advocate, a workplace,
we don't need a devil. The devil is racism.
But a workplace might say it's not our responsibility to create a space of cultural nourishment. You just
yeah.
They might say that, like, it's not our responsibility to do that. And some people might even say, I also don't go to work for cultural nourishment. And if I go to work for work 9 to whatever the hour is, and then I get everything else from outside of work, is that an issue?
Yeah, I think it is.
Why?
Because I was even thinking about this the other day in terms of like how we see, I was just thinking about employers and their, I guess, attitudes towards running a business and obviously hiring other people and forgetting that you're hiring people. Like, ultimately, you're going to get the best work out of someone when you give them an environment where they can produce the best work. And that is not a blanket approach to everyone. That's not. Like, if you're just more down to what that person can produce, then just say you don't give a fuck about your employers. Just say that you don't give a fuck about them then. Because like, look at it, even with lockdown, like the fact that the fact that we still don't even factor in sick days, including having bad mental health days. Why do we feel guilty calling up our employer to say that we are sick?
Yeah.
Why? Because we know that they don't give a fuck.
Even physically sick days. Like some people feel, oh, I need to soldier this. I need to weather it almost. Probably. I just need to get it done. We
have now for a long time seen it as, you know, work is just about what I can produce, and it's not about what I can get out of it. And that's why I do love the way that there are organizations and workplaces and institutions that are factoring in, like, how can we as an organization create an environment that you feel valued as a person, like, because trust, and everyone knows this, if you're in a space that you feel valued, you want to give more. It's a generated, like, it's a, what's the word? I remember Divya told me this word.
Generative.
Generative. It's a space where you're getting stuff out of it as well, because workplaces know this, that there has to be incentives. That's why, like, oh, you're gonna get this discount of this place, and nowadays all that shit is redundant, because 3% off Virgin Holidays, 1% off Virgin Holidays, really? Like, how about, and that's just lazy to me as well, because you're just thinking that as, we just need X amount of employers to come, I just need you to produce the work, don't really care if it's coming to kill you, because if you die, you're sick, I'll just get someone else
is there, exactly. And someone else replaces you quickly.
But then that's also now down to us remembering, well, what do I need? What's the environments I need? And unfortunately, there are some employers that just don't give a fuck, and if you ask some crazy shit like, I think we should just do 4 days, get out, because I'll just find someone else to do it.
Someone else is gonna. But the thing is, someone else will come in and do it.
Exactly.
And that's why a lot of people have that kind of fear or almost anxiety of, I actually can't say anything, or I can't leave, or I can't do it, because what's the word? They feel like they probably are replaceable. And it's like, if there's somewhere, and this is just my own personal opinion, if there's somewhere that doesn't value who you are as an individual, you're probably in the wrong space. But it kind of loops back to what we said at the beginning, where it's like, yeah, you might be getting paid in it, but that only fulfills one kind of aspect. It's a very important one, especially we live in London, things are very expensive, so you need to get your money. But if everything else is at the compromise of you just getting paid for stuff, in my opinion anyway, that's not enough. That's not enough. No, that's not.
It's not. And the thing is, I've worked loads of different places.
Yeah.
And the places I've enjoyed the most, because also we have to remember, especially, well, it depends. I mean, if you work kind of like very much as a solo worker, you don't really work with other people, I guess it's a bit different. But it's the people that make the jobs for me. Like, it's the relationships I build with people. Because I've had some jobs where actually, on the, like, written on paper, I hate the role. Like, I actually hate it. I remember working at a bar, generally hated it, but I came to my shifts all the time and I had a good fucking time because I worked with sick people. And the managers were like, sit there, like, guys, I know it's a long one today, let's just all do shots on the bar, like, let's, like, it's just also sometimes, because I mean, sometimes also in that particular role, you just don't enjoy it. Like, there's nothing else that could be done. Yeah.
Crap. Like,
go and find another job. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, but I think now where it's like you actually love your job, but the environment is now like it's detrimental to you and your mental health, because you've got colleagues using language that you find offensive and harmful. You've got employers not understanding what your real needs are, whether like you're a single parent, I don't know, whether you're like for religious reasons you have to take certain days off, where there's things where they're not seeing it as everyone's slightly different. Everyone's got slightly different needs. Because I remember one time, who was it? I think I was on my radio show and I was talking about like Christmas coming up, and obviously, you know, like those are just days that you don't work, like, because it's just, and like I know in this country, well, are we? I guess like Church of England, you know what I mean? But Christmas is a national holiday for us. And I remember there was someone, I think they were like, for religious reasons, they don't celebrate Christmas, and they wish they could still have the option to just work,
do some work
on that Christmas day, because that's nothing for them. And I hear that.
100%.
I hear it.
You get cracking with whatever does mean something. And that's why even with the relationship thing with work, for me it's actually more fulfillment of how I'm spending my time kind of thing. Because I've been in places where it's like, me and everyone get on. Like, I get on with people. But because of what's required of me, I'm just like... I already have it in my head, I'm not going to be here for too long kind of thing. Like, I need to feel that sense of, because even if I didn't get on with people, but the thing that I'm doing, I'm like, no, I'm so willing to give my time to this, and I feel like I'm getting something back from doing this, I'll be on it. Like, the relationship factor is, I think that's a bonus, and I don't know if that's just because through previous work experiences, it's not been like it's not been a normal thing. Like, there's just been certain places where I'm like, oh, it's good. Oh, wow, we actually get on. Like, that's dope. Whereas other places, I'm like, all right, cool. Just, is this good? I don't really like it, so I know I'm going to bounce soon. Or is this good? Yeah, it's cool. So I'm going to stay around for a bit.
But here's my question to that as well. So obviously a lot of workplaces have like away days and stuff like that, which are, well, should be about building a team.
Yes,
like, if you work in a exactly, like, we can't, it has an effect, like, and it has a positive effect if you generally get on with the people that you work. But you can't just plonk people in the office and just
go work,
or like just get on.
Do you know what's mad? Prior to me being a spoke, I never had an away day.
Oh, this is crazy.
I didn't know what away days were.
See, it's what I mean.
Generally,
and you know what that is? That's the employers. I mean, some people just do a shit away days anyway. But when it's a general good one, you're getting paid for that day, more or less. Not really even to do work. It's just about to go and bond as a team or do something different. That is like the employer saying, I see value in this because I'm paying you to be here. Because there's also a difference to you inviting me to something that you ain't paying me to come to. And again, this is also where the like the standards come in as well, because it's like you could use our paid time for us to bond.
Facts.
Or you could use our
make it a thing
non-paid
where
time where now I can't come because I've got external commitments that some of you aren't going to understand. Like, I have to go home and take care of my mum, or I have to go and do this, or I have another job because this money's not enough.
Do
you know what I mean? And this is where all these barriers start to come into place, that I guess if you're from one perspective, you're not going to understand that. Because like, why are you not going to come? Or like, do you know, basically,
no, of course, when the system is met or led by people who that work is, that's it. That's the thing that gives the most value. It's what they use all their time on. And all of a sudden, if you do something outside of work, it's like, wait, you have time for that? Or why you're not focusing on work enough? And it's like, no, like, I just know how to give myself to a couple of different, or I know why I'm doing this thing and I know why I'm doing this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even with the last away day we did, we went to the forest and walked for like 4 hours.
Yeah,
Sick.
I actually done something similar with my away day. Like, we went to some like community kind of cafe place and basically got told to go walk around the park listening to some stuff in our ear just to take in nature.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything glamorous. You don't have to go, on a holiday. Like, we're just not conform is probably the wrong word, but we're not going by our normal standards of we're in the office or in the workspace and our main reason for communicating is work purposes. Just anything outside of that, it's like, yo, how's everything going?
Exactly. But then there's also, because I was going to ask you this as well, and I'm aware of time, I was also going to ask you this, like, have you been in workplaces, which again falls in with like institutional racism as well, but have you been in workspaces where maybe something like a tragic event has affected your community, that you have felt impacted by? It's not, you don't know them directly, but like you feel it, like you're angry now, or you're grieving, or you're whatever, because there is this thing of like cultural grieving as well, cultural anger, like cultural outrage, where like, no, I didn't know them directly, but I feel it because they're part of my community. Like, that was an attack on us. Where your workplace hasn't recognized that and has almost acted like nothing's happened, and you've had to now go into work and act like you're fine when you're not.
I don't think that has happened to me.
That's good.
However,
because you were freelance for a long time.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that actually was that reason. Because I also remember a situation where at my last workplace, I had to leave. I was doing mentoring at a school and I had to leave. It was a really, really busy time at the workplace. I think it was like some of the most important days. And I left bang on time. I didn't leave early or anything, but I left at the time I always leave, which is 5:30, and I was like, yo, I gotta go because I got this mentoring thing. Like, I do this every Thursday kind of thing. And I was like almost outraged at the fact that I was leaving. And I thought, I come here to work and I get that this work is important, but the value you lot are putting on it compared to what I feel the value of me going off and doing what I need to do in this mentoring, it's not even comparable. And stuff like that, that makes me feel like, okay, I'm gonna have to draw back. Like, I have to draw back, because if you put such value on this thing and nothing on the thing that I hold a lot of value to me, then it's like, it's too much of a conflict, too much. So that wasn't even like a bad thing that had happened. That was more, this is something that I cherish and uphold and I think is important to me. You being outraged at the fact that I'm going to go and do something I think is important to me, because it's technically in my own time now as well. I can't rock with that, unfortunately.
Because there is this like culture around you just need to do overtime. I've never subscribed to that. I'm out when I'm out. And if I'm staying, you're paying me extra. And if you can't,
so normal in my head that's so normal. Like,
what do you mean?
What's my lunch? All right, you have an hour. That's what it said on it. Cool. Like, I'll have an hour.
Because also, best believe, if I'm still in the office at 8 p.m, I'm factoring those hours and I'm starting later the next day. What do you mean? But like, even for me, I was at a particular workplace, and I think I've spoken about this before on Infacts, but it's around George Floyd and stuff. And I was just, and we're working from home as well, and I was just supposed to join meetings and act like nothing's happened. And I think my manager asked me like, how are you? Like generically, like, how are you? And I started crying. I was like, no, I'm not okay. I need time off. Like, this is too much for me. Like, no, no. And even like recently, well, I say recently, obviously this is going to come out like in a few weeks time, but even the stuff that was happening around child Q.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I had to holler at some of my friends that work in like the education system. And I had to tell them, yo, like, if you need a minute, take a minute, man. Because 100%. You're working, you're very much working in these environments.
This kind of thing.
Do you know what I mean? And also, it's triggering because you probably joined this to change it. And you know now you're still working in something where you almost feel powerless that you can't change it, but then you're also almost supposed to just go to work like it's normal. Because you know what I was saying to my mum the other day as well, because I've really obviously been having a lot of reflective like thoughts and stuff, but like specific, well, as a black community, I feel like we have just been conditioned to work, get up and act like we're okay in the midst of outrage, in the midst of pain, in the midst of grieving. Like we are just supposed to get up and go to work and that is fine, and it's at detriment to ourselves. And we see it with our older generation. Like we see it, like you've been suffering. And I thought to myself, where does this come from? And this is just a theory for me, because don't quote me, but I'm like, it's probably really linked. But like obviously back in the day when we're on the plantation, even though my colour of my skin, I probably would have been in the ass, you know, but like you would then see your peers, you would see your brother, your sister, your mother getting whipped over there, and you know you can't do anything about it. And I'm not saying that there weren't slaves that didn't do something about it, but then they were used as an example of like, you try to act up, you're gonna get the same way. So now that fucking annoying feeling of I can't do anything about this, but this is hurting me, is something that we've carried for time. And it's almost like this dangling of, look what we can do to you and you can't do anything about it. Get up and go to work, carry on doing what you're doing. And I was saying that to my mum, like so many traumatic things she went through, and it was just autopilot that she would just get up and go to work the next day. That like you're not allowed that time
for yourself.
Do you know what I mean? And it does go back to now your needs 100%. And being honest with yourself.
100%.
And I'm big on nope. I'm big on not today.
The thing that not everyone, but a lot of people will say, and they just use this as like a throwaway phrase to just say, I'm like, you got to do what you got to do, but you got to pay the bills.
I know.
Yes, you do. But like, if it's such a tricky one, because I don't feel like I'm not telling anyone this is how you should go about anything, but in my perspective, you have to look after yourself. Like,
but then again, this is when the systems that have come to trip us up are into play, because
100.
Now, because of the fact that
you have to play
your social economical background, you don't have the money where you can just you literally can't afford you can't afford to take the time off. So now it's like I have to go in, I have to act like I'm fine. I'm mentally having a breakdown, but I can't afford to stop right now. I can't. Whereas some people will have that, and it shouldn't even be a luxury, where cool.
Yeah, I can put this down for now.
Yeah, I'm just
focus on me.
I'm gonna take a year out.
But that's even why. That's even why, like, the mindful and prideful things, like that whole angle, it comes from such a middle class. You have time. You have certain luxuries or privileges that not a lot of people do have. Because trying to implement a lot of these things into your daily life, when you have other external factors, whether it is socioeconomic, whether it is racial, whether it's biological, whatever it might be, that's going to impact on you being able to actually have that moment of reflection, that moment of, you know, some people say, oh, just meditate for 10 minutes. I'm like, you think I have 10 minutes in the day? I've got kids, I've got this bill, I've got my job who's on me, I've got the council trying to cook. Like, there's a lot of factors that come before the self, unfortunately, for a lot of people. Yeah.
But literally, we've been very much tricked into this way of living now where the self comes last, but it's not everyone's self, because some people's self have been coming first.
Pick up the Boris Johnson.
Because you know what I was thinking to myself? You know what I was thinking to myself the other day? I said, this whole England that robbed countries for their riches, and this is the same country where people can't afford electricity right now. It gets to the point where the fucking audacity of you robbing other countries, but then for what? For what?
You squandered it. Like,
For the fucking 1%. For a small percentage of the population, whereas you literally have now people cannot make ends meet, but you were the one robbing, and then so you've left a mess there. You're making a mess here. Just step to the side.
It's someone else's go.
Just stop it.
Go. I feel like we are at a very, very, I don't want to say interesting, because interesting is not a strong enough word, but a pivotal moment, because I even look at stuff like the royal family and I'm thinking,
smoke.
This doesn't sound bad, but the Queen, she's quite old. It's not gonna, like, her legacy or her reign might not go on for too much longer, basically, and from there it has to stop. From there it's done.
Yeah, but this is it though, done. And this is what I'm saying.
It's done.
And yes, because personally for me, as a mixed race black person living in the UK, and I look at the monarchy, I am reminded of the history of this country. I'm reminded that we still visibly have representations of our history, our fucked up history, that bloodshed, like not madness,
colonialism, like everything,
basically,
and it's still
present in today. So don't tell me racism's done.
No, and this is why it's beautiful seeing how Jamaica, Barbados, what was Belize as well, like how these countries have been like, this is now a global thing, and this is why I feel like we're in a pivotal moment where it's not just you and I sitting in this room having this conversation, it's us reflecting some of the stuff that's genuinely going on globally, where people are saying, we're over it. We're over it. Like, you lot can come here, but we're not happy. We're not excited.
Like
we're not
Beanie Man said,
you lot. We're done.
Beanie Man said, if it was Ari, we would have.
These not even left the family.
Yeah,
like,
but
done.
look at that.
It's done.
Look at that. Ari marries a mixed race woman, and it's hell break. They have to leave.
And the media going crazy. They have to leave the family. Someone in the well, probably more than one person in the family is like outraged. Like, we're at a point where, and that's one of Britain's biggest institutions, the monarchy. They even, what was the program where they kept calling it the firm?
Oh, was it? Was it Oprah?
The Oprah.
Oprah. Yeah. The firm.
The firm. I was like, yo.
Yeah. I know, this is mad.
This is serious. Mad. Yeah, because that's not even, that's people behind the scenes who we don't even know. Like, but I'm thinking, cool. This is one of them, one of those pivotal British institutions that it's time. It's time. And we're here at the point where it's time, like the decentralization. It's time.
100. And I mean, with all that, I kind of thought, like, did anyone read the room? Like, did you? And even, you know, it's so interesting as well. So my mum's view on like the Commonwealth is, she's like, nah, like, I'm here for it because you essentially robbed certain. Well, you got ties with Caribbean islands, that, like, so for instance, to put in context, so when St. Vincent had the massive volcano, massively disrupt the island, Britain had to pay out money to help, like, just with all the damage and stuff being done, and because they're part of the Commonwealth, right? But then, so my mum's also got sometimes like, no, I feel like in those purposes, yeah, you're damn right. Because also, wasn't it you that was grabbing people up from Africa, dumping them in? Because also the West Indies.
Country now.
What would the West Indies have even been, really, if this transatlantic, I can't even speak, the slave trade didn't happen? However, but my thing is though, okay, all right, so the Commonwealth, but firstly, why do Jamaicans need visas to come over here? Like, if you're part of the Commonwealth, I just don't understand. But also, you know that word that everyone likes to dodge, the reparations, G? Reparations. Because, and let me say it again, because when was it? Slave owners and families of slave owners and those families were being paid off until, what was it, 2019?
Something very recent. It might have been slightly before that, but yeah, it was very recent.
We're being paid off into this day and age from the taxpayers' money.
Yeah, there's African
We were
countries that are
paying
France tax for stuff as well from back then because
we
they're no
were
longer
paying for
colonies.
the inconvenience of abolishing slavery.
Yeah,
That's what we were paying for,
Yeah,
because we ruined that
Economic
business.
decision. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, another economic decision.
This is what I'm saying. So yeah, if anyone is ever, confused whether there's, institutionalized racism still around, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Because you know what I was even thinking to myself, and I know we'll round it up now, but I was even thinking to myself, and this might be controversial, but at the same time I'm like, kind of makes sense. So let's just say this England looked at reparations for people, descendants of slaves in this country. Yeah, imagine if they said, you don't have to pay taxes because you paid your taxes. Your family paid your taxes. How do you think that would be received in this country?
As in, when you say you lot, as in like
so black
who are
people,
descendants
like if you're a
of- okay.
descendant of
How would that be received?
in this country.
Don't you remember when there was a Sainsbury's advert with too many black people? People went wild. Can you imagine if they said, all right, you lot, you don't have to pay tax? Oh my goodness. People would be knocking on your door. Like, I swear to God, they're coming for us.
But I feel like,
That would be a trick. I wouldn't even. Nah, that's a trick.
but if we calculated the amount of unpaid hours that our ancestors put into building this country,
It makes sense financially, but I'm just saying.
and that's probably nowhere even
the
near.
response. It will be.
It'd be crazy.
Oh wow.
It would be absolutely crazy.
We'll never have seen anything like it. That's what I can say.
It would be crazy.
Oh my gosh.
It's almost like it will never happen. Like, obviously, it would never fucking happen.
Yeah.
But there are ways that you can work on this.
There are ways.
There are
You
ways.
have to come out your pocket immediately. It's just.
Because even like, for instance, when you do have these funding pots and they're like, specifically, we want to give to people from ethnic minority communities, is that also the guilt that you might feel? Because those communities don't have the resources. But let's look at the why they don't have the resources. Why? Stop saying you just want to help young black boys, because no, it's not just because they're young black boys, because of
Conditions.
yes, how have they
Everything has
ended up?
been- Yeah, everything has been and it currently is. Kanye, even though he's got his own problematic nature about him, he said something really that I agreed with anyway, which was, I think it was when it was with Gap, and he was like, yeah, like they love my designs, all this kind of stuff, but as soon as I'm meant to be a decision maker or asking to be a decision maker, that's when there's a problem. That's when I get silenced. That's when they don't want me in the boardroom. That's when they don't want me to have the conversations. And effectively, that is the way to change any kind of system. You have to become a decision maker.
But look at
Not on your
Parliament.
own, but exactly.
Yeah.
We need people who are exactly that.
Exactly.
Different decision makers.
This is what I'm saying. And the thing is, it's not just a case of now, we've got one or two in there that they're going to change everything. No, because I feel for the black politicians in government right now. Because if we want to talk about weathering and the mental strain, and the thing is, I'm not saying, it's not saying I agree with everything that comes out of their mouth, because again, there's intersectionality. Like, we have different ways that we've lived, and there's certain different things that it's not going to resonate with me, and vice versa. But still, how tiring is that to feel like you're basically carrying the weight of the black British community to speak up for them in a chamber, in a fucking room where after people, oh yeah, sure, whatever, sure, gaslighting you constantly. It's crazy to me.
Nah, that's tough. That's tough. That's really tough.
And I think if you want to look at institutionalized racism, look at our
No, that's the
government.
perfect place to start. The biggest institutions we have: monarchy,
police.
and police. Yeah. How much time do we have to?
I know, because we haven't even touched on it.
man.
But even though, because also when we say institutions, let's remember we've also got police. We've also got healthcare
Yeah.
and the racism in that.
Facts.
How can and I remember it wound my mum up so much when I basically had a blood test done years ago, and one of the kind of counts or whatever came back as abnormal, and they used the word abnormal, and they were like, well, it could either be that you have a life-threatening disease, or it could be the fact that your mum's Caribbean.
Wait. What?
Yes. That's what they told me. They said it could be down to like a life-threatening disease, so we're gonna have to look into this further, or it could be the fact that your mum is Caribbean.
And I'm assuming you said, well, my mum's Caribbean.
Yeah,
and
no,
like,
oh
okay,
yeah,
fine,
so that's
you'll be
probably
fine.
because there's slight differences.
What? How long ago is this?
Not that long ago. I think I was like probably about 17, before uni, and I remember thinking, huh? But again, it's this laziness. It's the laziness to look into, because even stuff like sickle cell and stuff, and how little like
that's what I thought
knowledge.
That's what you were talking about,
but again, it's this idea of this alien, like you're just almost aliens, like
abnormal,
yeah.
This different thing over here. Oh,
which actually, and I just need to say the word in the conversation because my mum's I know when she listens, she's gonna say one word: eugenics. A lot of this comes from eugenics. Again, people generally believe in that this whole we're just different biologically. We're just completely different. Like black Caribbean boys are not doing well in school because of their brain shape or because of their it's the genetics. No.
Yeah.
No. And it's actually been proven that it's actual bollocks. I remember, I think I was watching something where this madman scientist or whatever, I don't even know the name of him, but came up with this concept to basically say, yes, you know, white people, black people, we're completely different. Down to our anatomy, we're completely different.
Is that where they came up with the three races?
The
Asian,
superior race
and Mongoloid or something.
It's
Was
just
the
nonsense.
things,
And then it actually got proven like shortly after that was rubbish. But obviously, and like, do you know
it's
what's
a good headline?
and I'm telling. And my mum, I think because my mum loves using that word so much, because she's like, this comes down to eugenics. Like, people generally just feel like they're the superior race, and it's like, it's just, you know, it's beyond me. I can't help it. Like, I'm just a clever, smarter race. You know what I mean? See, you basically, listen, if you're ever going to have this conversation about institutionalized racism, you need to take it back to the source. There's no way that you can have it separated without talking about how Britain became quote unquote great. You can't detach it. You can't. But people don't want to have that conversation. It's
difficult for them. Because that's in the self-reflection. There's the compassion side and there's the being hard side. You're like, that's a lot of wrong. It's a lot of wrong that has to, I don't know, the reparations, but not even like financial reparations. I'm just talking about reparations generally speaking for the thing that's a clear wrongdoing. But that time of self-reflection, and that's why I think this is such a pivotal time, because I feel like with 2020 happening, lockdowns happening, a lot of institutions did have to look at themselves a little bit differently. Some of them, like the ones we just mentioned, the police one, healthcare one, the monarchy one, they're still trying to fight and stand as they were, but slowly you can see something is shifting. And I'm really we have to. So we have to, and that's why. Yeah, there's a lot of change. And I was even thinking when you were saying that as well, that like even like right at the beginning when I said obviously now the reasons why I went to therapy, because I wanted to explore some of the ways I've coped with certain things, and was it helpful or harmful? And that's almost like the way you have to look at these systems that we have now. Like, are they just causing more harm? Because then, and I think that says like, if you're an organization or someone, just look at firstly where you are in that like hierarchy in a way. Do you have the power to actually change? But just look at, okay, why are we working like this? And I think the pandemic made us all stop and think, why have I been doing? Do I even need to go into the office? I can just do this from home.
No, why?
A lot of people had to relook at that, and the times that, like the hours that we work. Is it worth? I think France were already doing a 4-day week or something like that. Like
behind.
Always, man. Always. But either way, it's like, let's look at this, because I feel like that's what the pandemic kind of did. Not enough, but kind of did, where it's like everything can go. Everything can go. And let's look at it and say that can stay, that can go. Like, let's be really honest about it as well, because a lot of things can still go.
This is it. And also, like, actually making your employees feel valuable and valuing them as human beings, and understanding that there are nuances in our ways of working and in our lived, like how we are as people. You can't have a blanket approach, and I think it's okay to change that. It's okay to be like, okay, you want to do a 5-day week, you want to do, I don't know, just being a bit different, or like, do you know what I mean? Or like,
because it's not that now everyone does a 4-day. Some people are like, no, I'll come in, it's cool, as long as the work's getting done in my head, because that's the objective. That's really why you go to work, to get the work done. But to say it has to be done within this hour, I think it helps for routine and structure for certain people, but other people thrive on being able to be dynamic. And at the moment, we don't have a lot of places, well, especially conventional workspaces anyway, that enable that type of thinking or enable that way of being, especially now with stuff like the internet and social media. Like, you can do this stuff from home or from a cafe or from wherever.
This is what I'm saying. Wherever. But also really looking at your environment, like, is it inclusive? Is it for everyone? Are there some people that are almost going to become squashed in this environment, or it's harmful for them? Like, really seeing the value of creating a healthy environment where, it is inclusive, and you're not just hiring black and brown people or queer people and whatever to tick a box. No, is it an environment for them to thrive?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, does everyone else know the right language to use? Does everyone else know how to basically act not mad?
Yeah.
Don't move mad. You know what I mean? Like, don't move mad. Like,
thanks.
And I think, that it's going to take time, but actually,
at the same time,
because we're tired, man.
Yeah, because sometimes hurry at it.
We're tired.
Sorry.
And my voice is tired now. I feel like I've definitely shouted on this pod today.
Good. The emotions came out.
If I don't have a job next week.
They rushed us out with Divya's one, so this one can be a little bit longer than normal anyway.
It's true. So and I don't think I'm going to edit any of this, because I'm just going to fling it up.
Oh yeah, fling it up.
Unapologetically.
Yeah, if anyone has an issue, just timestamp it and we'll get back to you in like 10 working days. And you know what I mean? Cool.
Yeah. You have an impact on opinion?
It's been full of opinions, isn't it? Let me see if I got a recommendation. I don't feel like I've done a recommendation for a little while.
Okay.
I know. Let me try and switch it up. Oh yeah, cool. Recommendation is, let me go for that one. It's not new, but Mac Miller's album Swimming.
Okay.
Very, very good.
Very, very Mac Miller, all right.
That's my recommendation for today.
Okay.
You got one?
I actually do have a recommendation.
Go on, hit us.
And shout out to Divya, because really this is her recommendation. So she told me about a book she was reading. Let me get it up. But I found the concept really interesting. And I'm gonna try and find. Actually, wait, no, yeah, it's on my. It's called Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown, and it's kind of in the circle of, I guess, when you're doing community work or working with people. But also working in the face of a lot of change going on.
Yeah.
And like, obviously we've seen a lot of change recently, but like this idea of like almost just going with it as well. Going with it, sometimes just sitting with it, like just basically just a nice perspective. And I remember a quote that Divya said, because she read out a few quotes like that really stuck out, and this one particularly stuck out for me, is relationships can only move at the speed of trust. And I said, because especially when it comes down to community work, you want to rush this. Trust is a major factor. And I think when we're looking at racism and oppression and things like that, trust needs to be formed.
No, facts.
You can't just suddenly decide, we're going to do this and that. People, there's a lot of people that are not going to trust certain institutions and organisations, and you got to hold that.
Relationships move at the speed of trust.
Yeah.
I like that.
But even just in general, innit?
Yeah.
In general, but yeah. And then, do you know what, actually, one minute, let me get out my notes, because there's another thing that she said as well that I was like, this is, and that's why I was asked her, what is this book? And there's a podcast on Spotify. If you just type in Emergent Strategy with Adrienne Marie Brown, there's a podcast of like her.
It's like author. The extension of the book.
Yeah, then they talk about the concepts and stuff, and it is all about like showing up as your authentic self. It is just a more kind of, I guess, a more, not even radical, but like a more current way of working and being in spaces now, where we're done with this. You gotta almost fit into this idea of professionalism. Like it's about, you come as you are, and you know what I mean. Let me try and
find the environment that helps you thrive. As soon as you're thriving and all of your peers are thriving, whatever the organization is going to thrive.
Exactly.
It's inevitable.
Oh, I don't think I have it here right now. But anyway, but yeah, I really like that thing of moving at the speed of trust.
Yeah, no, I like that too.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Well, I'm not. What is this? Nearly fucking 2 hours.
Yeah, you're not editing shit.
I'm not. I still got
even this little bit here is staying.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Basically, take time. Take
time where you can, man.
Self before anything else.
That's
but
right.
In a not in
an honest way.
Yeah, and not in a narcissistic way.
Yeah, not in a for the gram way.
Please. Exactly.
Please. All right, cool. Peace and love.
Bye.